biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling?
When's the last time you got laid?
French Toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Less people wanted that than are currently watching our stream.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mark It Down podcast, where it is Tuesday night, so we must be in Bizarro Land, Moggle, because we are covering NXT. I'm James Gisanti, but you know that from the intro. With me is Nick M. He might not be in our intro, but he's in our hearts because we love him. He's an MID OG.
Watch out, Chad. I'm coming for your spot.
I mean, I go to that intro every once in a while, and I'm like, I remember what Chad had to say about Dusty Rhodes, and it was lovely. It seems so ominous, but it was lovely. What are we doing here? But so happy to have you. We have a comment already from JL. Haven't seen you in a while, JL, but we are covering NXT, so I'm not surprised. What a reign. I agree. It was certainly a reign that exists in reigns. So that's cool stuff. But we have a lot to cover tonight as NXT finally made the big move from USA to the CW, the land that the Arrowverse forgot. We are here now in this new world of CW after spending its entirety of its television existence on the USA Network. This is a big move. Nick, do you think CW is a good home for NXT moving forward?
Well, first I just want to say the Arrowverse holds a special place in my heart.
Hell yeah.
Yep. See, there you go.
Hell yeah.
With that being said, I hope so. I mean, I think it'll definitely, it gives them a reason to refresh. It gives them a reason to go, okay, start over. You know, this is their clean slate, right? Like, you're bringing all these interesting people in. I hope so. I hope that this is a good thing for them. I've been a big NXT fan for a long time, and I even slogged through a lot of the 2.0 stuff early on. So I'm happy to see them kind of circling back again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And with coming full circle, oh, got another comment here from Nas. What up, Nas? Always a pleasure to have you here, buddy. Thank you for joining us here on Tuesday night for NXT. As we come full circle and as we enter what is, I believe now, I think we could say the third or fourth era of NXT. You know, I'd say that there's Black and Gold WWE Network NXT, there's Black and Gold TV NXT, there's Color Splash NXT, New Era NXT, and now we're in CW NXT. And as we enter this new era of the CW, we have a whole new look for NXT as we are greeted by HBK himself, Shawn Michaels, to usher in this new era of NXT. He made it clear. Hold on, we got another comment here from Nas. I am glad that NXT is out of the Performance Center. Nas, from your lips to God's ears, don't get me wrong. Full Sail really did the best they could for the longest time. The Performance Center did the best they could for the longest time. But the reality is NXT outgrew Florida a long, long time ago. That crowd helped create some beautiful, magical, memorable moments in NXT history. But the thing is, I think they got themselves a little over in their heads, and it became more about them enjoying the show than the show being allowed to live and breathe. What did you think of that, Nick?
I agree. I think NXT should have gotten out of the Performance Center a long time ago. You know, even as far back as Black and Gold era, I think when it was white hot, they 100% should have been doing big shows like this for quite a while. And obviously now is the time where you have to see if that thought process is true, because, you know, obviously this is the first show. it's going to draw people. They're white hot right now. But will that transition into next week too, and the following week, and the following week? So I think it'll be interesting to see whether they can keep kind of pulling out shows like this outside of the Performance Center, or are they going to have to, find another permanent home somewhere?
That's a really good question. Time will tell. They've already announced the next set of shows. They know where they're going to be touring for a while. Tickets are available. I think with any debut, you're always going to see a huge first show. Whether this was Raw or SmackDown for a season premiere, or AEW with one of their 500 shows, or now here with NXT, you want to put your best foot forward. They went to one of the biggest wrestling cities in the world, or at the very least this country, in Chicago. They had a star-studded event as they brought in a lot of main roster talent to help pad this out. And while I don't think that's going to be something that necessarily continues on a weekly basis, I think tonight's show was a great indicator of, at least story-wise, where they plan on moving forward. Nas saying NXT being in arenas now makes it feel like a true third brand. Nas, we're actually just about.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
You're in my head. Nas saying only time will tell if they could keep the momentum going. Look, I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for it. We, at the end of the day, we love professional wrestling, no matter the letters, no matter the colors, no matter the people. As long as you're putting on a good product, I want to watch you. Right now, we know it. WWE is definitely, absolutely in a boom period. AEW is delivering some of the best pay-per-views I think I've ever seen in my years of being a professional wrestling fan. And NXT, we're getting to a point where that excitement is back. So I think we're in a good period right now. If your letters aren't Ring of Honor, ROH, I think you're in a good spot. TNA has more buzz now than it's ever had before. Realistically, I think Ring of Honor is like the only brand right now that you'd have to really convince me to go watch it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like Athena, you got me. I'm in for Athena. I'll be in for the occasional Mark Briscoe match.
Everything else is just...
Yeah.
Are you sure?
NXT, though, happy to see it feel alive again. Happy to see it have buzz again. So that's really cool. But going back to Shawn Michaels, going back in ring as he welcomed the NXT universe. Is that what they are, the NXT universe? I don't know.
I guess so.
They're a pocket dimension.
That sounds about right. That sounds like something that Booker T said one time.
He said you can't have a new era of NXT without new NXT championships. And we are unveiled the new men's and women's world championships. They are, I believe, identical except for the different color straps. The men's straps are black. The women's straps are white. The plates are silver. And it matches the new color scheme of NXT. Long gone are the splashes of color in NXT. We now have a silver NXT logo, very similar to the old black and yellow, I think, or black and gold, but more just flat silver. I personally like the new logo. I think I like it a little better than the NXT color splash, but I don't know how I feel about the championships yet, because I'm just never crazy about silver belts. I'm never crazy about silver plates. I think immediately my brain is saying you are the second place belt. And I want to hear what you have to say about it, Nick, but we got You Know It. What's up? Welcome. Thank you for being here, pal. Are we not covering AEW anymore? We are. It's just we were at Grand Slam last week, so we couldn't cover it.
We were there.
As soon as Dynamite was over, they immediately started taping Collision, so we couldn't really do a live. We did put up a video, which go check if you haven't already. Some fun stuff that happened in between Dynamite and Collision last week. Tony Khan and Mercedes Moné getting up to some silly stuff. But yes, we are still covering AEW. We will be back at it for tomorrow as AEW has its 5th anniversary show for Dynamite. As we have a huge main event. Nick, I don't know if you saw this main event. Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada will be going championship for championship. Bryan putting up the world championship, Okada putting up the Continental Championship for 20 minutes. Right? It's silly. That's silly.
That's we won't get too much into it, but that is the ultimate, like, you know who's winning, and I want both of these guys to walk away with their belts.
Exactly.
Reason for this.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just silly. It's silly. I get the thought process, but it's silly. But we're not here about AEW. Tonight, you know it. We are here for NXT. And as Sean is showing off the new belts, he does have one question for us. But before he can get it out, Triple H cuts in and asks the crowd if they are ready. Great moment. The two DX founders really just, man, they won, right? Triple H running WWE, Sean running NXT. They really played that 90s long game.
Especially, so it's so funny because I've recently been watching the Vince McMahon docuseries.
Likewise, I'm on episode 4, about to hit episode 5.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same spot, but it really kind of refreshed my mind on like what was going on at that time. You know, I was especially like in that specific time period, I was a small child, so like I wasn't actively paying attention then. But it's crazy to see who those people were and where they came from to now being the basically heads of this company, you know, the faces of this company, and they're doing a great job. I think they're willing to listen to, you know, what fans want within reason, and they're not trying to insult anyone's intelligence.
I think it's just like baseball. I'm going to appreciate a former player being a commentator. I'm going to appreciate a former player being a manager or a coach because they know what it takes to get the job done.
Right.
And that's, look, I don't want to pretend that WWE was always bad under Vince. It wasn't. But by the end, he cared about Vince.
Some dark periods.
There really were. And so far, like, I don't think Triple H is the perfect booker. I think he makes a good amount of mistakes. And I think Sean, for the most part, has been riding a high with NXT, but even he's not perfect. We had Ethan Page as NXT champion for a while. I'm kidding. I do like Ethan Page.
I have nothing wrong with Ethan Page.
Yeah, me neither.
Is he my like first choice?
Exactly.
The head of NXT? No, not particularly, but
I knew he was there for this match tonight. I know that's exactly why he was there. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, the kids made it. Those degenerates made it, and good for them. But as we move away from the Heartbreak Kid and we get to the action, we have our first match of the night, and it was a title match as the NXT Women's World Championship was on the line as Roxanne Perez defended her championship against Julia. Now, guys, Julia has debuted to much fanfare, a lot of hype, a lot of buzz, and coming into this match, it felt almost inevitable that she was going to dethrone Roxanne. We definitely got some monkey wrenches. We definitely got some surprises. I thought the match itself was great. Good. I thought it was good. Yeah, like nothing wrong with it. I think it needed another couple of minutes, weirdly, to really hit that that sweet spot of we're gonna hit that next gear.
It definitely felt like a very, I don't want to say abrupt end.
Yeah.
But again, time constraints. I get it. It's not a PLE. They can only do so much with what they have announced for the show.
Absolutely. And getting into the match itself, let's see. I have notes. We're professionals here at the Mark It Down podcast. Out the gate, Julia and Roxanne were trading submission holds and takedowns. Julia countered Perez into a roll-up, and then Roxanne kicking out pretty easily. Roxanne then and Julia were trading pin attempts, and neither woman was really able to get the advantage. Julia was able to avoid a Pop Rocks and locked in an STF, which Roxanne then countered into a crossface before Julia turned it into a pin. Both women are at this point staring daggers at each other, and this is essentially the end of what was their stalemate. After we come back from the commercial break, Roxanne is working over Julia. Both women have a little bit of a strike exchange, and Julia unloads on Roxanne with repeated headbutts. I think we got to teach her nobody wins with a headbutt. I know that's a very Japanese thing to do, but no thank you.
Yeah.
No thank you.
No, thank
I
you.
have a sensitive forehead. We then get a hammerlock suplex by Julia, which Roxanne is able to kick out of. Both women then continue to exchange elbow strikes before Roxanne sends Julia out of the ring. Roxanne then hits a big suicide dive, and then as she goes up top, Julia cut her off and hit a top rope butterfly suplex hold. This only leads to a 2 count as Roxanne is able to kick out of it. Julia and Roxanne then trade submission attempts before Julia reverses a crossface back into another STF. Roxanne then broke the hold by reaching to the for the bottom rope. Julia countered Pop Rocks again, this time with a knee strike. Roxanne then surprised Julia, finally hitting Pop Rocks. But Julia was able to roll out of the ring and avoid getting pinned, which is so bizarre to me. I just got to say that a move like a Code Red, which is what Pop Rocks is, just hold on. Don't let your opponent leave.
She's done it before.
Yeah. It's just absolutely silly to me. But Julia then pulls Roxanne under the bottom rope and hits a Northern Lights bomb onto the floor. Roxanne and Julia are both almost counted out, but the ref is distracted. Roxanne goes around the ring to grab the NXT Women's Championship, signifying she was going to use it to hit Julia. As the referee is dealing with Roxanne, someone in a hood runs down to the ring and hits a double arm DDT onto Julia onto the floor. This person then tosses Julia back into the ring, where Roxanne hits a Pop Rocks, finally getting the 1, 2, 3, and we still have Roxanne Perez as our NXT Women's Champion. Under the hood, Cora Jade, a returning Cora Jade, shocking me because I did not think with the severity of her injury she'd be anywhere near ready to come back, but she is a sight for sore eyes. Happy to have her back. That division was missing her, and quite frankly, I don't want her to be there long. I would love to see her on the main roster, but
I agree.
That's a different conversation. We'll get to that in a minute. As I said, our winner and still our NXT Women's Champion, Roxanne Perez. I don't know how Rev does it, but I enjoyed the matchup. I think we're going to debate about this for a little bit here, I think, but I think the right woman won.
I don't disagree with you.
It's weird, right?
It sucks to say because you know Julia is going to be the face of NXT. It's inevitable. It is bound to happen. But I think if you really wanted to give Roxanne that proper title run, and she's beating everybody. She's beating everybody that, in NXT, she's beating people in other promotions. If you really want to solidify that she's not, she lost and she's just going to go to the main roster, I think it was important for her to win tonight. I think the way they did it was very smart. Cora Jade coming back, she looked great.
Yeah, she really did.
And what else is there to say? I mean, truly, it sucks to see. Julia will win the title, and she will be the face of NXT, and she's going to go on her own little winning streak. But I think it was important for Roxanne to win this match tonight.
I completely agree. And let's get to the comments before I give my opinions on certain things. It's saying he hasn't watched NXT in a really long time, so he's totally lost here. You and me both, buddy. This is my first time, and I think since TakeOver, And even then, Takeover was just like, it's Takeover, I'm watching it. I haven't really been watching NXT like that, but I have been keeping up with it, knowing we were leading up to this CW debut. We have Daniel Barry. What's up? Daniel, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you enjoyed NXT, and stick around. We're going to have some fun. What did you think of the match? What did you think of tonight? Let us know in the comments. I'm just going to ignore Eric. It's saying that was a strange looking red drink. That explains a lot. It was cranberry juice, sir. It is a natural diuretic, and it is good for you. It's saying Eric said, damn it, I still acknowledged Eric there. Eric then saying he thought it was Gulia, like wedding singer. I got nothing for you there, buddy. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm glad this was an educating moment. I'm glad you were able to learn a little bit here. But look, it's a weird thing because there's always that expectation of hype. Man, look at this shiny new toy. Let's put the shiny belt on the shiny new toy that a lot of people are excited about seeing. It's super inviting. It's a super tempting concept. But certain other places that have 3 letters for their company name would get criticized for it. And certain other companies have done that. Not always. For a good part, they don't really do it too much. But they've been doing it a little bit more recently. And there has been some pushback on that. So I am happy for the crowd that likes WWE and likes NXT, that they get some consistency in what they're hoping for here. I agree with you. Julia is absolutely going to run roughshod over the NXT women's division.
I will say the only thing that I feel that they missed out on was there should have been a Stephanie appearance tonight.
I agree. We're going to talk about that because she was name dropped a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I agree that would have been a great way to build some hype. And I think what we're going to get, and we'll talk about it as we get to the backstage segment that came later, I think we're going to get a tag team scenario. And that's not really what I'm looking for here. I don't mind it as a good way to do a start and an introduction, because for the most part, she is going to be an unknown entity to the WWE audiences.
Right.
So I don't necessarily mind that as a greeting. It worked with Finn Balor and Hideo Itami, Kenta, when they joined NXT. Hideo bringing in Finn to even the odds against, who was it? The
Ascension.
Yes, the Ascension. God, you remember them, right? You remember them meaning something. Right?
I loved the Ascension at that time.
Yeah, we all did. We thought. Go ahead.
I was a big Ascension fan. They just the look, the music, the presentation. It was that they were really one of the first early NXT characters that just felt like, oh, they're gonna be stars.
Yep.
But as I've learned time and time again, not everyone that's big in NXT will be big on the main roster.
Yep.
So,
Unfortunate. I mean, hey, when you get booked to lose to every legend possible, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But those dark days are over. But yeah, as far as this match went in a vacuum, I kind of predicted this was going to happen, especially with what I expected to happen in the main event. I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger on both. So if one was going to change, this
and that's what's interesting is because going into the show, I fully expected it to be the reverse scenario.
Really?
I thought Ethan retains, Julia wins. But after the first match, when Julia lost, I went, "Oh, Trick's going to win tonight."
Yeah, We'll talk.
Spoiler for the end of the podcast.
God forbid if you guys click on the video titled "Trick Williams wins NXT Championship." I'm really sorry that we spoiled it a little ahead of time. But I guess we'll just answer that. We'll acknowledge this comment real quick. Eric saying WWE filed for yes. It's over, boys. And then it's saying if you can copyright a word, then I'm claiming the words I don't know what I'm reading.
He's saying he's going to copyright all those words. So
Okay. Oh, okay.
No one can use those
okay.
letters as intellectual property anymore.
You know what? I'm rooting for you.
Sorry, we can't be the Mark It Down podcast anymore.
Damn
we
it.
just have to be Mark It Down.
We're just Mark It Down. God, end of an era. Dozens of you guys are going to be disappointed.
No, my God.
Just to acknowledge the yes thing, we got to say, Brian himself does not say yes. He does the finger thing and the crowd does it. And they can't stop him from doing this. So I think the fact that they never did any yes merch in AEW, the fact that he doesn't say the word at all, nothing is going to change here. The crowd is still going to do it. If he is really nervous about doing this, sure, but we're still going to be saying yes no matter what.
100%.
It's saying we could use the but we just have to pay him first.
Oh, well.
Thanks, it. We appreciate it. Eric saying, Brian going back to WWE, it's over. God, I oftentimes when I disagree with people, I think, man, I would love to just get into their head and figure out how they work and what they think. I would never want to get in your head. It is a terrifying place, Eric. Eric saying, we have $24. Eric, we have $30. Just so you know, we're moving up in the world.
Eric is money.
Yep. Money.
Get him on the podcast.
Please. I miss my producer boy. But we then go backstage as we have a fun segment with CM Punk and I guess an old coworker of his from somewhere else. As CM Punk is initially speaking with Ava Raine, head of NXT, about wanting to call things down the middle, wanting to make sure he promises whoever wins the NXT world title tonight in the main event that he is the special guest referee for, that person will have earned the NXT championship in his mind. As that conversation is coming to a close, he is greeted by everybody's favorite Lex offender, Lexis King. Initially, Punk is a little weary because Lexis. That is Lexis. Lexis has a Chicago star shaved or, I don't know, spray painted into his head. I don't know what the deal is with that beard. I don't know how much of it's hair. I don't know how much of it's spray or paint. I have no clue. But regardless, he had a Chicago star on his head, and he said he's going to forgive it out of respect for his father. And that's actually what Lexis wanted to talk about. He is doing everything he can to not be like his father. Last week in action, he had the opportunity to cheat and get the win, but he fought that urge and in turn lost his matchup. Punk says that he's got two wolves inside of him and he's got to decide which wolf he wants to take over. He says you could either go for it, take the easy win, do what you got to do at any cost to get that win, or you could fight your very nature and fight what's inside of you and try to do things the right way. I thought that was a very interesting back and forth. I like to know it. I haven't really been following NXT. Bless you if that was a sneeze, by the way.
But appreciate it.
I haven't really been following, and the last that I really knew of Lexis was that he was a heel, and just happy to be a heel.
Yeah, this one kind of took me by surprise too, because also thought Lexis was a heel, and maybe this is the start of a babyface turn for him.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to cheer for him. I also
exactly.
I don't. You're a very booable person, and
that's okay. That the world needs Sammy Guevara's.
You need Baron Corbin.
You do. Hey, that man.
All right.
His entire life.
You need
ever
Baron Corbin before 2024.
Okay, that's fair. Fine. I'll give it to you. I'm not happy about giving it to you, but I'll give it to you. All right, completely random. Going on a little 2-second tangent. I swear to you, I was thinking today, who would have killed or who would kill with that sad, unlucky Corbin gimmick that he had for like a month?
Who?
I absolutely think Chris Jericho of today would kill that gimmick. I think it would be super necessary. Just have him be this down on his luck loser who is so depressed because of how bad his life went. I think that unironically, the crowd would start to get behind him again.
That's almost like what you have to do for him as he's about to retire.
You think?
He's just losing to everyone. And does Chris Jericho still got it? Can he still win the big one? You know?
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, we not worth putting too much time into, but man, I really did think about it, and I was like, who knows? Maybe that'll get people to actually give a shit again. I doubt it, but I did skip over. We did have a Fraxium vignette, as Axiom says that Frazier needs to stop being a hothead if they want to remain the NXT Tag Team Champions against A-Town Down Under next week. I'm just going to say this right now. This feels like a tangent. It's not. Where the fuck are the Motor City Machine Guns? Nick, I swear to you, I would have put money on them debuting tonight. I'm so glad that I didn't, but I would have put real money on them finally debuting tonight. I don't know where they're going. I don't know if they're going to NXT. I don't know if they're going to WWE at all. I don't know if they're going to AEW. I think my favorite thing that would happen, they just show up on TNA again next week as if nothing fucking happened. I think that would be the most perfect outcome to come out of all of this.
I mean, to be fair, that's exactly what Eric Young did.
All right. Not intentionally, though.
Yes, but
I am so confused. And maybe that speaks to what we're concerned about. How are they going to keep the momentum going? Maybe they are just going to parcel out debuts and like entries.
yeah.
But my God, it's been months. And I know it's been months because
And
we
it's
had
not
this
like
fucking
it's not like
interview
Saban and Shelly are getting any look respectfully. It's not like they're
Yeah,
getting any
no.
younger.
They are
you know?
super talented guys, but they're not spring chickens. They're not
Yeah.
kids anymore. Strike while that iron has still got some heat to it. But
Look,
man,
I get there. Where would you debut them tonight? Right? It's this like there was no tag match. Who do you debut them against? It's got to be the tag champions, right?
yeah.
What other reason would Motor City Machine Guns come to NXT
Yeah.
for? You know,
I could have maybe not that I thought it was a bad match, but I would have maybe done without the Lola Vice Jada Parker match. If that's where I could get an NXT tag title debut for the Motor City Machine Guns, but
yeah.
like I get what you're saying though. I get what you're saying. On the show that we were presented, it wouldn't have made sense for them to debut as such. But man, I am just flabbergasted that it's been this long without them popping up anywhere. We don't have official word. We don't have official word. We've heard rumblings. Yeah, they're going to go to NXT.
Speculation,
Yeah, but
they've got designs. They've got this. Blah blah blah. But yeah.
And I say this as somebody who wants them in AEW. Shocked that they didn't show up tonight. I thought it was a foregone conclusion. But anyway, I digress as we then move elsewhere backstage. As speaking of the ladies themselves, Jada Parker and Lola Vice are in the locker room preparing for their tag team match against the Toxic Influence. They are bickering. They do not want to be a team. They do not know how to be a team. They don't know who's going to be in charge. But they interrupted by the NXT Women's North American Champion, Kalani Jordan, and she says that both of them need each other. The bickering continues, and as they leave, Kalani mentions that she may have a backup option in dealing with Toxic Influence. Fine, not much to say on it. I like Lola Vice. I like Kalani a lot too. I think she's a good mid-card women's champion. You know? She's not necessarily who I would have picked to win that title. It would have probably been Sol Ruka for me.
Yeah.
But not a bad choice at all. And she's been doing a good job with that belt.
Kalani to me is someone who she's got all of the talent in the world, but I feel like they still don't have a clear direction for her.
Yeah.
You know,
And admittedly, that's fine in a place like NXT. NXT is about finding yourself. It's about finding that thing that works, and it's about finding that direction.
right?
I think she's a good worker, but I think she could develop. And I think that's what everybody in NXT is there for. You know, we are back to it being a developmental brand. Going back to that conversation, is it a third brand? Is it a developmental brand? In my mind, it's a developmental brand with excellent talent. But it is still a place for a lot of these guys to develop and hone their craft. So if Kalani isn't being skyrocketed to the top with a clear trajectory, I think that's fine because I think there's time, you know?
Right.
But I do agree with you. It does feel like that title is to keep her warm. She's not keeping the title warm. The title is keeping her warm.
It's keeping her, I don't want to say relevant, but
Yeah.
giving her something to do.
Yes, absolutely. But moving on, a match that I was dreading from the moment it was announced, but it was good. It was a good match. But the TNA fanboy in me is definitely struggling here as we had a street fight between former MSK tag team partners Zachary Wentz and Wes Lee. I knew how this was going to end. I knew who the winner would be. Admittedly, I was expecting a twist that we didn't get, so maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But in the battle between NXT and TNA, I really got to do a video. I really got to do the stats on this. I don't know who's winning in the war between these two brands in terms of wins, losses for the respective companies. But I think NXT is a little bit ahead. I hated that they put the X Division Championship on Zachary Wentz for their initial match at No Mercy because it was such a stunt just for TNA to have a belt on somebody that was going to be on an NXT pay-per-view or, I'm sorry, a premium live event. I hate that he lost it immediately back to Speedball, even though I love Speedball and I think he shouldn't have lost the title to Wentz in the first place. And I knew that tonight was going to be about Wes getting his win back on a bigger stage. Yes, No Mercy was a premium live event for NXT, but the debut on the CW was always going to have more eyes. And I knew that that's where that was going. Wes Lee is an NXT superstar. Wes Lee is somebody who WWE is very clearly invested in. You could tell that they see a good future for this kid. But man, I feel for Zachary Wentz, who felt like he was kind of put up on a platter here. I'm annoyed as a Rascals fan that Trey Miguel didn't get involved. And I'll be honest, my twist was I thought Trey Miguel was actually going to help Wes Lee. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they showed us that video of the beatdown that Wes Lee does to Trey Miguel. You don't ever actually see him touch him. Like, he closes the door on him. He throws punches into the car. I think it's all just a ruse and that they're going to screw over Wentz, but we didn't get that. This was just a street fight. And I say just a street fight, like these two guys didn't beat the shit out of each other. And they really did. They gave us a street fight.
That was a great match.
It really was. I'm just personally disappointed with the trajectory. Just going to the comments real quick. It's saying Punk is still wrestling when he has time, when he's not walking Larry or tweeting or guest refereeing. He does
going to Mindy's.
Yep. It's saying Mindy's, gotta love it. MJF certainly does. It's saying yes, fine yourself to get moved up to the Raw SmackDown to get swashed. Who are you talking about there? Let me know. And Yadir saying hi from Facebook. Hi, Yadir. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Hope you're enjoying the show. But this match, right out the gate, action. As Wes Lee made his entrance first, he was carrying a kendo stick as Zachary Wentz made his entrance coming down the ramp. But Wentz doesn't even get to the ring before Wes Lee goes for a somersault plancha before the bell even rings. Wentz then goes for a suicide dive of his own, and then Wentz transitions into a ground and pound attack onto Wes Lee. Hold on, my notes are getting a little messy here. I also did like, I should note, I did like that Wesley came out with a shopping cart full of weapons. I mentioned the kendo stick, but it gave me real Terry Funk vibes. It gave me real Dean Ambrose pretending that he's actually gonna use
hardcore
the weapon.
championship.
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
Give me that Crash Holly love. But yeah, sorry, my notes are just crazy now. I don't know why it got weird. But yeah, Wentz then rolls Wes back into the ring. Wentz pulls out a piece of plywood from under the ring. And then Wesley drops Wentz with a suicide dive of his own. Wes then stomps on Wentz's chest. Oh God, that's gonna get a problem. Wentz. Lee then flings multiple chairs into the ring. Wesley then repeatedly whips Wentz with a kendo stick, and then Wentz super kicks Lee. Wentz then hits repeated chair shots across the back of Wesley. He was laying into him. He was absolutely laying into him. Wesley then launched Wentz over the top rope. Wentz then applied a sleeper hold from the top rope. Wesley then drove Wentz back into the steel ring post. Wentz then reapplies the sleeper hold, and then Wesley sends Wentz crashing through the plywood that was somehow miraculously placed on chairs that wasn't there before. It just happened. We're all just going to accept that it happened. I don't know what the explanation is.
You didn't see it.
Magically, they were there.
Everyone in the arena had to sign an NDA.
Yep. We then go to commercial break. God, can you imagine the performance center with those NDAs? They would spin on them and then take a picture with them showing what was happening in the background. We then go to commercial break. As we come back from the break, Wentz hits a van. They called it coast to coast, but it felt like a Van Terminator.
Yeah.
What did you think?
So this was probably around the time where I had to kind of cut.
Yeah. All right. So
I did catch a little bit of this match, and I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Zachary Wentz is an absolute monster in the ring.
Yep.
I think it's only a matter of time before he comes back to the WWE.
You think so?
I think so. I think
Okay.
his girlfriend is there, and I don't think he Gigi.
He's with Gigi Dolan.
Yeah. And I don't think he particularly ever wanted to leave in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, he had to leave due to some unfortunate allegations that I believe have been
resolved
and proven to not be true. But yeah, very messy situation, and they've been doing their best to skirt around the facts of it, and just saying he left him, and then Wes, moved on and moved up. But yeah, no, the more you say it, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked to see both him and Trey Miguel make the move over.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked about it. But yeah, that would be. God, WWE is just going to rape and pillage TNA, and TNA fans legit have just a smile on their face for it. It's actually it's super depressing, but
it's me. I'm TNA fans.
I when it's all said and done, in a year or so, let's see if TNA and NXT are still working together. I really want to do a video comparing the AEW TNA relationship to the WWE TNA relationship.
That's interesting.
We'll talk about it later. But getting back to the match real quick, as we come back from the commercial, as I said, Wentz nails Wesley with the coast to coast / Van Terminator with a garbage can. Wentz then wedged a chair in between the turnbuckles. Wesley then drives his knee into the midsection of Wentz. Wesley with a forearm smash, and then drop kicking Wentz into the wedged chair. Wentz then dumps Wesley ribs first through another chair, only getting a 2 count. Wentz then attacks Lee with the kendo stick, and then puts a trash can over Wesley's head. Wentz then hits several kendo stick shots to a garbage canned Wesley, and then Wentz hits a double foot stomp. Wentz then follows that up with a swanton bomb off the top rope, but like parallel, not perpetular. Like he did not go across the chest or the ribs or anything.
He
just flattened him out, and it was a rough spot. It was cool, but it was rough. After the swanton bomb, only getting a 2 count. Where am I? Wentz then goes for the UFO cutter, but Wesley is able to push him off of the top rope, and what was supposed to be a table spot, he went a little too far, and he slid off the table. He did not crash through the table. Quite frankly, it made the spot look even rougher. Missed table spots are always worse than actual table spots. After getting him back in the ring, Wes hits a springboard double foot stomp for a 2 count. He then wraps a steel chain around his fist. Both guys are just going for haymakers, and Wentz has Wesley down, and he is begging for mercy. Wesley is begging for mercy. Wentz says he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to have to do this, but he has to. And as he hesitates to hit him with the chain, Wes hits him with a low blow. He then repeatedly punches Wentz with the steel chain. He then wraps the steel chain around his own knees and then hits a flying Meteora through a chair to get the 1, 2, 3. Great matchup. Excellent. This is a street fight. This was a street fight. It was excellent work from high flyers. They absolutely delivered here. I understand Wesley needed to get his win back. I just hate that it was so paint by numbers and how we got here. But excellent match, excellent showing from these two guys. And Wesley, if this feud isn't over, is definitely building his way up to a championship at some point. I think Wesley going for the NXT world title is not that far out for us. Any thoughts?
I agree with you. Heel Wesley has been some of my favorite part of NXT lately.
Nice.
You know, and look, he was great as a babyface.
Yeah.
His North American title run is fantastic.
Legendary, I'd say, for that belt.
He is always a bright spot anytime he's on the show.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think the only logical next step after this feud is go after Trick.
Yeah.
You know,
what will be a good match.
Well, yes. Now, whether he beats Trick or not, I don't know. And unfortunately, he's still a guy that if they do give him an NXT title run, can he do it on his own? Does he? Yeah. Can it be something that he can run it as a solo guy? But
I think as a face, the answer for me was going to be no, that it would have been a quick reign just to say he won the title. I think heel Wes has some gas in the tank to surprise us with a title reign. But again, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, going against a baby face like Trick is going to get you some heat.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's able to capitalize on that. We then go, after this match, we calm things down a little bit by going backstage with a Cora Jade interview. She's talking about how she is the real savior of the NXT women's division. She's then confronted by Roxanne Perez, who asked her what that was about. And she says she needed to remind people. She needed to remind Julia. She needed to remind Stephanie, obviously being Stephanie Bakar, who she is. And besides, Roxanne should be happy. She's still the women's champion. And Cora says that she appreciates the change in Roxanne Perez's attitude. Roxanne then says, who knows, maybe a common enemy can bring them back together. Now, granted, that is an incredibly awkward sentence to say out loud. I don't think I've ever heard someone say, hopefully we could find a common enemy to be friends again. But it was said, and I think that's going to go to what I said, that I think we're going to see Roxanne and Cora take on Julia and Stephanie Bakar. That name drop was intentional, and the history that Cora and Roxanne have will obviously play importantly here too. So Who knows? We'll see. I wouldn't mind that eventually leading to a fatal 4-way. I think that would be an excellent matchup.
That would be fantastic. They can even and I do remember there were rumblings before Cora got hurt that they were planning on putting her and Roxanne back together.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're just going, full steam ahead with that.
Yeah.
And what great timing to do it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Fatal 4-Way would be a great match. I think they should keep them together.
I would too.
Especially with two certain people who showed up on NXT tonight.
Yeah.
I think having an official team again would be great.
Would you do it at the expense of Roxanne's title run? Now that she retained against Julia, are you okay with her dropping it at any time at this point? Or does it still now need to be the right person now that she got through Julia?
Still hard to say.
Yeah.
I think either way would be fine. But it really depends on what the long game for them is.
Fair.
If it's not Cora and Roxanne being called up to the main roster, which, like you said, should happen.
Yeah.
Then I think just keep it on her, and you have an excuse to let Roxanne, go through these top people that are coming in, because as we saw tonight too, it's not just Stephanie that's coming to NXT.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if you have that in your notes or not, but
I mean, we were going to get to it. That's who I think it is, right? A certain Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's who I thought it was.
Oh, no.
Who was it?
Oh, we'll get there. All
right. We'll get to it. It's saying Cora Jade sounds like an Under the Sea character. You're not wrong. I don't think she would appreciate that, but I'm not going to tell on you.
Yeah, she might kill you.
All right. But what a way to go. We then go to a segment that doesn't ever feel like it should be on NXT, but this is the world we live in now. Miz TV, where our special guests are Oba Femi and Tony D'Angelo. Now, this is what I will say. The Miz was absolutely not necessary to this whole thing. But the interaction between Femi and D'Angelo was incredible.
It's almost like they forgot that they turned the Miz heel.
No, see, the way he acted, it played into it because the crowd was definitely giving him shit, and he had that shit-eating grin on his face.
It's just you turned him heel, and the next time we see him is on NXT.
Yeah.
Just a very it almost makes me feel like they should have saved the heel turn for next week. But whatever, it's the Miz.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't care. I never particularly cared. It's fine.
Danny. I hear Danny just saying, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But again, he served his purpose pretty well, in my opinion. He was just the conduit for these two to be able to talk. And boy, did they. I can't get through the whole thing because it was a long back and forth. But Tony D'Angelo talking about how his entire life, he's been a guy who strikes fear in the eyes of others. He's fixed a few problems. He's roughed up a few wise guys. But when it comes to Oba Femi, he dominates every facet of the game. And there's a reason why he's the most dominant NXT North American champion in history. He says he's felt his power, his aggressiveness, his explosiveness. But he fears his motivation to do the unthinkable. He says next week he's going to stand toe-to-toe with Oba, and he's going to dethrone the ruler of NXT and become the North American champion. Oba Femi tells Miz that, he's been in the game for a long time, and he knows he's been around long enough to know when a man truly believes what he's saying and when he doesn't. And he can tell you this, Tony does not believe a single word that he's saying. He says that Tony has had a successful career in NXT up until this point, but every man has a ceiling, and this is it for him. He could do so many things, but he will never be the North American champion because that is Oba Femi's title. Tony D'Angelo then goes for the Chicago Pop because he grew up 20 minutes from this building. He says he's got family in the back, he's got family in the crowd, and he's got friends who believe and motivate him. Oba then says they can't fight for you. He mentions the family and how they won't be able to get there and do anything for him. And he says that he knows that no matter what, he's already broken him. He's planted doubt in his mind, and he knows that he's questioning himself right now. He doesn't, but he already knows the answer to the question. He can't beat Oba Femi. Tony D'Angelo tries saying that he's just a man, but Oba Femi pulls a Thanos and says that he is inevitable. He then tells Tony D'Angelo that he is broken. I thought this was a great back and forth. And I know I kind of did cover a good portion of it. I didn't cover everything, but it was a nice back and forth between these two men. Oba Femi is a marvel. He is a physical marvel. It's hard to describe how big he is, and then by extension, how fast he is and how unsettling that is.
You want to talk about attractions in professional wrestling? Oba Femi is an attraction.
Absolutely.
In professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
I think within a couple of years, you can argue that he's he's an Andre. You know, he's going to be a guy that they're sitting on gold with.
Yep.
He's got the look, he's got the size, he's got the speed, he has everything. He's the only thing that can stop him is himself.
Yep.
And I hope that does not happen.
I am rooting for him so much.
So far, he has been great. When it comes to next week, I still don't think you take the title off Oba.
I agree.
I think Tony needs something. You know, tag title's great. The trophy, heritage, whatever, fine. But I think Tony needs a real singles title run. He is the might be the only guy from the 2.0 era who hasn't really been, I feel, utilized to his potential.
I'd agree. I think it's one of those instances that it's an unfortunate thing that he's so popular and the family is so popular that they feel that they don't need to give him too much because they know he's going to be popular no matter what. And I've never been a huge fan of that mentality. Oh, you're popular, you'll be fine if you're not holding a belt. Or, oh, you're popular, you could survive losses.
Right.
To an extent, it's true. But you still need to reward it. Otherwise, eventually the flame will go out.
Exactly.
And I really do like Tony D'Angelo. I think I completely agree with you that he should win gold sooner than later. I don't know that Oba Femi is the mountain to climb for him.
Yeah.
But I am rooting for him. This is a scenario where no matter who wins, I'll be happy, and no matter who loses, I'll feel a little sad. But I do think Oba has a much nothing against D'Angelo here. I think Femi, like you said, if he doesn't get in his own way, I think he has such a bright future, not only in NXT, but on the main roster. Quite frankly, I don't need to see him go for the world title in NXT. Once this reign is over, just send him to the main roster.
I agree. I think he's ready.
Yeah. So good back and forth between these two guys. You could argue whether or not Miz and Miz TV was needed for this. No matter what you say about Miz TV and how you might feel about Miz, inarguably, it does create an opportunity for talent to have a good segment if they are confident in themselves to do it. And Femi and D'Angelo certainly were. So, good segment overall.
I agree.
Yeah. Heel or face, whether for you, Miz. But going to the comments real quick, it's saying 75% of turns are done at wrong times, according to the latest census report. NASCAR says those turns are right and sees no problems. Look, I don't know if the Miz is part of that census, but I don't think Miz has ever been a face for more than a year at a time. It's truly impressive how they just never stick with it one way or the other. But I digress. Miz is for another day. We then go to a women's tag team match as we have Lola Vice and Jada Parker taking on Fatal Influence as Kalani Jordan was on commentary and Fatal Influence had a third in their corner. I am shocked that JC Jane is still in NXT. It feels weird.
It almost kind of feels like they're just waiting for Gigi to come back.
I agree.
That is like that's the only thing I can think of.
Is she hurt? Is that what it was? She got hurt?
Yes.
Yeah. Man, I remember them showing up on SmackDown and then Mandy got fired. And then it was just like, what the fuck is going to happen with them? And they just, not that they've been stuck in their tracks because both women have done stuff in NXT since then. But it just feels like they had such an upward trajectory that got derailed because of somebody else.
And how did it's kind of insane to me because not only is she still in NXT, but it almost feels like she's done nothing in NXT.
No real championships to talk about, no real storylines to talk about. Like she and like JC and Gigi had a good storyline, yeah.
But post that, it just kind of felt like the momentum died.
Yeah, it's a bummer. You know it. I got your joke, although he would have had a lot more fun with it. I got your joke. And he'll be back tomorrow as we cover Dynamite. AEW Dynamite. But no, I agree with you. There's been nothing consistent with JC, and Gigi cannot come back fast enough. But going to the match, like I said, Kalani Jordan is on commentary, and Jasmine Nix is with Fatal Influence.
I still don't know who that is. Every time I hear her name, my brain goes, who?
It's getting funny too because I typically have a very good memory for who these wrestlers are. You know, like if I see them once or twice, I'll be able to imprint enough that I'll be able to say I know who you are and everything. So many of these names for the women feel like they are put in a name generator. And I like Tatum Paxley is a name that feels not real. It doesn't feel like a real person's name. But I now am intricately aware of who this woman is. But I haven't gotten there yet with Jasmine Nix. And I'm trying. I really am. But the match starts with JC Jane and Jada Parker. Collar and elbow tie up. Jane then backs Parker up into the ropes. And they have a quick shoving contest. Jada then hits a side headlock takeover. And Jane answers with a head scissors escape. Both women are exchanging palm strikes. Parker then grabs a side headlock. JC then whips Parker across the ring. Ooh, woo. Parker then drops Jane with a shoulder tackle. Lola Vice then tags herself in and hits an axe kick on the ropes, only getting a 1 count. Lola then applies a front face lock. JC Jane then brings Lola down to the mat. Jane then tags in Henley. They get a double Irish whip going, and then Vice punches Henley in the ribs. Lola then hits some body shots, and then tags in Jada Parker. Henley then goes for a straight right hand, and then Parker is able to drive her knee into the midsection of Henley. Parker then sends Henley into the corner. Bless you, I think. Parker with 2 overhand chops, and then Parker then puts Jane on top of Henley. Jada then slaps Jane in the chest and then delivers the teardrop. Parker then tags in Lola Vice. Vice then starts shaking her hips, and I don't think anybody complained, except for half of the internet, maybe. She then hits a double hip attack. She then applies an arm bar and then stomps on the left hand of Henley. Lola then starts mauling on Henley in the corner. She then tags in Parker. Jada then starts hitting some clubbing shoulder blocks, and then Lola tags herself back in again. She then continues the midsection attack of Henley. Parker then gets 2 shoulder blocks in, and then Parker hits the divorce court. Henley is now starting to fight back, and she tries tagging in Jane, but Parker kicks the left hamstring of Henley. Henley then decks Parker with a jawbreaker. Henley then tags in JC Jane. Lola Vice hits a super kick right onto Jane and keeping the momentum on their team side. But that super kick, which was perfectly placed onto JC Jane, was apparently not good enough for Jada Parker, who assumed that super kick was meant for her. There's a bit of commotion. And before Jada goes into the corner herself. This confusion allows Henley to attack Parker from behind, and then she applies a front face lock. Fatal Influence has complete control as we go into the commercial break. As we come back, JC Jane is applying a body scissors hold onto Lola Vice, who uses a back bridge cover as a counter, but only gets a 2 count. Lola then hits thrust kicks into the midsection of Jane. Lola then does a double leg takedown. All in all, there's still so much more that happens in this match. Surprisingly, so much more that happens in this match. But the finish coming as Jada is on the ropes, on the apron, and one of the women from Fatal Influence pushes Lola Vice into her, sending Jada flying. Lola tries going for a tag, but Jada refuses, saying that this is the second instance of Lola getting in her way, and she walks up the ramp and leaves Lola by herself. Lola showing the fighting spirit, throwing some spin kicks at both women. Eventually, though, it is too much, and Fatal Influence is able to drop Vice with a double team move and gets the 1-2-3. This was fine. This was good. I think this was more the story of them with Lola Vice and Jada Parker not being able to work together than anything. I don't think the match did anything wrong, but this was more about story than action. I like Lola Vice. I think the crowd, the internet wrestling community is sometimes a little too hard on her. I think she is in NXT for a reason. Jada Parker, I like her, but she definitely kind of came across as the dumb tag team partner in this instance. After the match, Fatal Influence is in the ring and they're talking shit. Kalani tells them that she brought backup, and out comes Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. All 3 women clear house, just destroying Fatal Influence and sending them flying. Nick, I know you probably didn't see the match, and I know I rambled there for a bit going through everything that happened. What do you think of the direction of this? Are you a fan of any of these women? And
actually,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm glad you said that, because there was one particular point that I really wanted to bring up as I was thinking about this. I really like Fallon Henley.
Okay.
I like that they turned her heel. Great. I find it weird to include her in a group after she separated from a group.
Yeah.
To be a singles wrestler.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just a very strange thought that went in my head. Anyway, not important.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point. I think it's indicative of they wanted to change her, but they didn't really know what to do with her.
Right. And it kind of feels like that's the case with those 3. This toxic attraction 2.0, whatever they're calling it, toxic influence. It's just it feels like it's just a group of kind of
thrown together women.
Yeah. So it just felt weird to have Bianca and Jade thrown in there.
Yeah. It was just to have them on the show.
Right, which I get it. I get why they do it, but just from a logical standpoint, what business do they have? You know, why would they care about what's going on with Kalani Jordan? They've never interacted before.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
But the segment was cool. The match was fine. I did watch a little bit of it. Didn't do a whole lot to get me to care about the feud as a whole. With that being said, I do also like Lola Vice. I do also like Jada Parker. Their booking was a little questionable, but I do like that they're kind of adding this tag element back to the women. They're throwing the women back together. Almost makes me wonder if they're going to bring the tag titles back, or they're maybe going to have the women's tag titles from the main roster be a little more involved in NXT again.
I wouldn't be shocked. I don't need to see it there all the time because, quite frankly, I don't think they have the division to carry that many women for it. But once every month is good by me. You know, once every like 3 to 5 weeks is the sweet spot. I think.
You know, if you're running out of people on the main roster to challenge for the titles, instead of just throwing it on a new group just to make it feel fresh, send them to NXT.
Exactly.
We've got you look, they're putting all these people together. Lola and Jada could be contenders. Roxanne and Cora are there. You've got the toxic whatever. The division's there. You know, you definitely have some decisions.
Again, as we've been saying a couple times tonight, time will tell. Time will tell. But before we get to the main event, we have 2 quick segments to talk about. As we had Javon Evans talking about Randy Orton in the match that he's going to have next week in St. Louis and what it means for both of them. I thought this was an interesting thing. Randy Orton coming to NXT feels ridiculously surreal. Like,
to wrestle Javon Evans, this is like my universe mode being plastered onto TV.
Yep.
Like me being the only person in the world going, oh, maybe I'll just give Randy Orton like an NXT run. Like, just send him down there and like work with the young guys.
Let that kid get his reps in with those young whippersnappers.
Yeah.
Oh God. Look, it's cool. It's cool. Like, is Javon Evans the person I would have done this for? Probably not. Definitely not. But hey, they're both into it. Randy seems into it. It's going to be a fun hometown match. I think that's cool. But what a world, Randy Orton in NXT competing. Didn't have that on my bingo card.
No.
After that, and this is where I was wrong. This is where you were correct, and I said the wrong thing. We had a hype package for a woman, and I said Jordan Grace, but that was me not fully paying attention. It was a muscular woman in a red jacket walking down the road towards an NXT sign. And this was likely for the recently signed Delta. Now you seem excited. Talk to me.
Delta is Australian wrestler.
Okay.
I've watched a couple of her matches. She is someone to look out for.
All right.
I think WWE is NXT is a very good place for her to land. She's got the look. She's got the skills. Only time will tell how well she does, but I think this promo is a good idea of what to expect. And I think everyone should be very excited. NXT is about to have a very, very stacked women's roster.
Yeah, thank God.
And it's weird to say that. I'm more excited for the women. I don't want to say it's weird. It's not weird. I am more excited for the women's division in NXT currently than I am the men's division. I think
I'd agree. I absolutely agree.
I don't want to say it's weird because it's not weird, but it's just I'm so used to that not being the case.
It's an unfamiliar feeling for NXT. You know, I'd say it's like close to a decade since the NXT women's division was the hot division of that brand.
Oh yeah.
So very cool stuff to look forward to. Quick tangent, quick side note, because we're talking about a debuting Australian women's wrestler. Some of us at the pod had the opportunity this weekend to go to House of Glory in Queens, and we were presented a shockingly, like, an incredible, amazing women's match that it had the entire building on its feet cheering because we were just not expecting this match to go as hard as it did. As the House of Glory Women's Champion, Megan Bayne, defended against Australian Lena Cross. Now, this was the first I've seen Megan Bayne perform before. She's undeniably talented. She killed it, as she has been now as House of Glory Women's Champion. I had never seen Lena Cross before, and these two women might have put on one of the best matches I've seen in the House of Glory building ever.
Funny enough, I actually just also learned about Lena Cross the other day.
Fun.
Watching Delta videos, funny enough. So that's actually amazing. I didn't get to go to House of Glory.
Yeah.
I had too many fun events within a week's time, and unfortunately my wallet was like, nah, sorry, you can't.
We wish you were there, but I totally understand.
But very sad that because I do like Megan Bayne a lot too.
Oh, she's awesome. And this is, I think, the second or third time I've been able to see her live, and just absolutely incredible talent. It's just a matter of time before one of the big guys decides to really gobble her up and push her. I know she did some. Yeah.
Wasn't she with AEW?
She wasn't signed. She was appearing for them, and I think she did mostly Ring of Honor work. Maybe she did like some rampages or whatever.
Sure.
But she didn't do much. And then she got back, I guess, on the indies. And quite frankly, I think this is the move, because I think she's really finding herself. And I think the one drawback is the rumor is she's dating Joey Janela, and that can't be good for you. But nothing against Joey. It was funny, or it was trying to be funny. But yeah, I'm
that's got to be a real, because isn't Megan Bayne like a tall?
She's tall
woman,
and she's built like a brick shit house.
And isn't Joey Janela like a small?
Yep.
Not built like a. That's got to be such a funny dynamic.
So at House of Glory, it was what was billed as a dream match, and it takes a lot for me to be like, whose dream was this? But it was Joey Janela versus Joe Hendry. And Hendry's a solid guy. Like, he's not like some muscular beefhead, but he's a solidly built guy.
Yeah, of course.
And then just putting him next to Janela, it was like, wow, we really are highlighting, like, we're in New York and Janela's a Jersey guy. Let's really rub it in for him that you just do not belong here. But yeah, no, he was next to her at the merch table at the end of the night, and she was just not standing over him, but you could tell who the big one was.
Which one was Jungle Boy and which one was Luchasaurus?
Yeah. Speaking of which, best wishes to Luchasaurus.
Get well soon.
Yeah, dude, that is scary. We are wishing you the best. Please be okay, and hopefully you'll be able to come back better than ever in no time. But god damn it, let's do this main event. Let's let you get to sleep, as the NXT World Championship is on the line as Ethan Page defends against the former champ Trick Williams. This time, though, with CM Punk as the special guest referee. We've been saying it, no surprise to you guys. Yes, Trick Williams won the championship back. To me, this was never a question. To me, and I say this as somebody who's been watching Ethan Page since TNA when he was part of the North with Josh Alexander. I am a fan. He won the title so he could lose it to Trick tonight. That was the whole purpose of this. They wanted a big celebration at the end of the night to commemorate the debut on the CW, and Trick was the guy they wanted holding his hand up at the end of the night. That's all this was ever going to be. I like Page. I think he carried himself well as NXT champion. Quite frankly, I think he looks good with a belt. And I think the biggest surprise of the night is that Ethan Page is taller than CM Punk. Didn't see that coming. Wasn't expecting that. When I look at Ethan Page, I'm like, oh, look at you. You're a fun little guy. But
No, I
taller
don't.
than Punk.
I think Ethan Page is deceptively a big guy.
Yeah, clearly. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting it. And I am pleasantly surprised. And as I've been saying, I will always root for Page. I don't think he should, I think him being the guy to come in from AEW and win the NXT title was a choice. But as he's been saying in interviews for the last 2 weeks, the conversation he had with Shawn and WWE was, we feel like nobody ever gave you a shot. We're going to give you a shot. And they took the shot with him and he ran with it.
I tell you what, this is the best work that I've seen from Ethan Page yet.
I think I'd agree.
I think look, he still has room to grow. I'm not saying that I love I like Ethan Page. I'm not, number one super fan for Ethan Page yet, but compared to his run in TNA and compared to his run in AEW, I think NXT is a perfect fit for him. I want to see Ethan Page do well because I know he can.
I think the thing that I'm excited for is next week on NXT, we're going to get A-Town Down Under. And I'm praying that they interact with him. I think if they're not going to split that group up the way they've been teasing, although I think it'd be insane if they don't split them up at this point. I think he would be a great third for them. I think he could be a great leader figure for the two of them.
Or even if they needed
a good replacement.
Yeah, even if they needed to pop Austin out and put Ethan in,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think his back and forth with Waller would be fantastic.
I agree. And I kind of want to see a babyface Austin Theory.
I know. I'm with you. I'm with you. My favorite Austin Theory is the way Austin Theory, lovable himbo Austin Theory. Absolutely.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Give me the lovable idiot.
If
Austin
DIY
Theory
isn't going to go over the way that it's supposed to on the main roster, then give us the way.
I completely agree with you. Somebody said something on Reddit the other day that broke my heart, but it's absolutely true. Johnny Gargano's got to be sweating bullets knowing that Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin are coming to the roster because his entire moveset is ripped from the Motor City Machine Guns. And it'll be a fun tag team match.
I can't wait to see Alex Shelley hit the Sister Abigail, man.
God, what are they going to turn his fucking finisher into? Because there's no way they're going to let him keep it. I love his shell shock too. He spikes people with it.
Spikes people.
But just to finish up covering the main event, throughout the match, Ethan Page butting heads with special guest referee CM Punk, who very honestly called this match down the middle. Absolutely fairly, no fast counts, no getting in the way of anybody. Page hits a GTS in Punk's face, only gets a 2 count. Punk calling it fairly, though, not slowing it down. The finish coming as Ethan Page kind of shoves Trick into Punk, who grabs him and then sort of puts him into the corner. Ethan then goes for a running boot that Trick is able to dodge. He's able to sidestep. He then runs and hits the trick shot, getting the 1, 2, 3. I felt this finish came really fast, really out of nowhere. Nick, you said it well when we weren't on the air that it really did feel like they maybe ran out of time for this on TV and they just needed to go
Send it home. Yep.
The celebration felt quick. We got confetti, but I feel like there was no real focus on Trick. And as this is happening, CM Punk gets his retaliation on Ethan Page, hitting a GTS. And I'm telling you, Nick, right now, if Ethan Page is the reason CM Punk loses to Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell, I might pop a blood vessel.
No. Now, if you want to bring CM Punk down to NXT to wrestle a match,
yes,
And maybe Drew wants to also come to NXT and ruin that match. That's fine. Please, God, don't transition a CM Punk and Drew McIntyre feud into a CM Punk and Ethan fucking Page feud. I will start watching the NWA, and they just made Tom Latimer their champion.
God. I need this to sort of manifest now. I feel like we've done too much for this not to be what happens. And oh God. I don't know. I'm at a loss here because the troll in me wants to see it happen so badly. The other part of me who is terrified that Drew is going to lose to Punk also wants it to happen.
I just want fucking Josh Alexander to show up.
Yeah, I think it's insane that
That's all I want.
Henry was simultaneously feuding with Ethan Page and Josh Alexander in their respective companies. So I remember an interview that I heard like a couple months back, maybe like 6 months ago, that they asked Alexander about Ethan Page, if how things are between the two of them, and he said, "Look, I don't have a bad thing to say about Ethan. It's just we have not kept in contact since he left TNA. We weren't ever that particularly close. I wish him the best. It's just like we're not really like friends like that." So maybe it was just that neither guy cared enough to say this would be smart, but realistically, the fans wanted it.
Yeah.
It made sense from a storyline point of view.
Do what's best for business.
Exactly.
In the industry.
Have Alexander be the reason Hendry lost to Ethan Page. That would have made total sense.
Yeah.
Absolute sense.
Yeah.
But no, we couldn't do it. Just a goddamn shame. But I agree with you. And quite frankly, I think it's a matter of time before TNA's top guys are going over to NXT. I think Alexander is not long for the TNA world. I think Jordan Grace come January is absolutely going to WWE. Hendry, it's kind of a goddamn joke about how much he is absolutely like, I don't even, as much as I want him to become TNA champion at Bound for Glory, it's going to be the quickest fucking reign because they are immediately going to gobble him up in 2025.
100%.
So I think just the more and more, we were talking about it before. Zachary Wentz, I think, is absolutely a really good bet to go back to WWE.
I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of the X division gets raided.
Yep.
Chris Bay, Ace Austin.
No.
Maybe Mike Bailey. I don't know how old Mike Bailey is. But...
Kenny said in an interview that he really wants to get Speedball over to AEW. And I think that he would be more comfortable in AEW than he would be in WWE.
I agree. I think he would work better in
AEW. Yeah, but I agree. And I have been saying it for years now on the pod. I think Ace Austin is like the torchbearer for TNA. I look at him and I see a young Shawn Michaels in terms of personality, in terms of how he carries himself. And I think Shawn could mold Ace Austin into the biggest NXT superstar of all time.
100%.
I absolutely think he can.
100%.
But that said, my company has become a feeder system, and it makes me cry. It makes me cry. But that's another pod.
Scott D'Amore.
God. Hey, what is it? Maple Leaf Wrestling? That's what he's doing now?
Yeah.
I'm going to be paying attention. He got the names for it.
Yeah.
He got some names for it. But, guys, that was NXT. That was NXT on the CW. Thank you so much for listening to us ramble, watching us have a minor heart attack at the thought of Ethan Page being CM Punk's next feud. I had a lot of fun tonight. Nick, I mean this so much. It was so fun having you here tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad that we were able to do this today.
I am so happy. I am so happy you're here. I know we can't get you all the time, but when we can get you, it's truly a highlight for me here at Mark It Down. Guys, you know the deal. If you're new and you're checking us out, thank you so much. I don't know what brought you here, but we appreciate it. If you want to stick around, we cover all the types of wrestling. I said it before. We cover WWE. We cover AEW. We cover TNA. When big stuff happens in New Japan, we cover it. When monumental stuff happens in Ring of Honor, I cover it. We cover all major pay-per-views. We will be covering Bad Blood this weekend. join us tomorrow as we cover AEW Dynamite. Join me on Thursday as I cover TNA Impact. We're really trying to get somebody for Fridays, so bear with us. And if you're a regular who's been joining us, like like JL, thank you so much. We love you. And if you're just following us on social media, thank you. Whether it's Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram, we're having a lot of fun across all the platforms. Matt has fallen into a Seinfeld-like vortex that our page is more Seinfeld than wrestling lately. Danny and Eric are absolutely antagonizing you guys on Twitter, and I love it. And I'm trying to rebuild the Facebook community, but quite frankly, it's a barren place.
Facebook is dead.
Yeah. So thank you if you're one of the 5 people that are keeping up with us on Facebook. But we love you guys. We will be announcing officially the winners from our giveaway last week when we were at Grand Slam. So pay attention tomorrow on Dynamite during our Dynamite Live review. And I'm still waiting to hear from you, dude, who won our Joe Hendry giveaway. Go check that out. Please, we want to give it to you. If you don't respond to us, we're going to have to go to the runner-up. And I don't want to do that. You earned it. I want you to win it. So please come reach out to us. I want to give you your shirt. I want to give you your Joe Hendry autograph. But
that was definitely a Joe Hendry autograph and not fake.
Definitely not a Nick Maniotis original.
Definitely did not do it in my bedroom.
Left-handed. I'm James Gisanti. This is Nick Maniotis, and this is the Mark It Down podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. And as always, watch wrestling. Anything you want to say, Nick, before we go home?
Thanks for having me, and I can't wait to see you guys next time.
Woo! Have a good night.